Welcome to the Marriage 360 podcast, where we take a full circle look at life, love, and marriage. My name is Marty Sloan. This is my lovely wife,
Becky Sloan.
Becky Sloan, and our topic today is why yes is best. Just say yes.
Yes.
Our last episode was the topic of sex and marriage, so we might can segue off of that into just say yes.
Just say yes.
Yes is easier than no in married life. And let me give an analogy. In parenting, we've had this journey of, you tell your kid to do something, want to argue back and forth for a few minutes about it. Clean your room.
Right.
And the kid argues back and forth.
Right.
The time they spend arguing, the room could have been cleaned.
Could have been done, cleaned twice probably over.
Likely.
For the time you spent arguing.
Our human nature is self-defeating. And for whatever purpose in life, we trend toward the no's above the yeses. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not at all suggesting that everything in marital life is a yes.
Oh, absolutely not.
Please don't hear me say
no.
that. Yeah, that's a big no. How about no?
How about no?
They call me Dr. No. There are times when no is necessary, certainly. But I've seen couples who it's like one spouse is determined to say no to everything.
Right.
We joke about this. We have dogs. Mm-hmm. Well, you have dogs. I have a wife.
You dropped them off to the groomer this morning.
I did.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I do the dog thing because I have a wife. But I would have never had dogs. I don't dislike them.
Yeah.
But okay. And so, the joke we have in the marriage is our first dog in Arkansas. I was like, I don't want a dog.
Right.
And then you went and got the dog.
And then I thanked you for letting us have the dog.
Thank you for letting me get the dog. I'm like,
reverse psychology.
And so, and I think, I had various reasons. And one was just, I don't know, just being a no-sayer, I guess. I don't know. But I hear couples all the time, well, my spouse will just say no to that or this. And I want to encourage couples, find the power and just yes.
I think sometimes people think they have control when they say no. Like, I'm going to control the situation and just say no. So it puts a stop. We can't go anywhere from here. We're in a deadlock until I see different. And whether it's simple chores around the house or it's like this morning running errands that you would necessarily not want to do. Yes, there are times when it's just physically you're not able to do it for something, or I know people that are very organized by calendar, and man, if you throw a wrench in their calendar, then that really sets their day off. You and I both being second-borns tend to be a little bit more flexible.
We don't plan anything.
But sometimes I would say in my own experience, having been married the last 30 years, would be like, oh yeah, there's times when a just simple yes would have saved so much. Just say yes, do this or do that, move on, and it just would have created more harmony than me trying to say no just for the sake of no and standing on that mountain. The mountain of no.
The mountain of no. You cannot want to do something and still choose to do it. That's one of the benefits of being an adult.
That's exactly being a benefit of being an adult. And us as a society, I was listening to a podcast this morning of some doctors, pediatric doctors, that were talking about kids complain about having to learn certain things in school and because it's not useful and they'll never have to use it again. And the one doctor mentioned, but it's a task, and you completing that task and doing that task has benefit. So there's things we do in life, even from grade school on, that we don't want to do, but you do them for the sake of maybe for someone else, or completing that task just to teach your brain and your self-control. I've done this task. I can move on now. Just be flexible.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes we also maybe ask the wrong question. Like, for example, we don't realize that when a spouse is requesting things, it's for the betterment of the whole marriage, not just a specific event.
Right.
So, like, do you want a dog? Well, the answer might be no, but the question might be different. Do you want a wife who has a connection point, something that gives her comfort and care while you're going to work all day long?
Well,
the answer to that's yes.
Exactly. To your wife who you moved 13 hours
Yeah,
away from her
From
family
everybody.
when her kids were 3 and 7, and support animals weren't the thing in 2004. But now I kind of looking back at Baxter, our first miniature Schnauzer, I feel like
Your support dog.
Baxter was my emotional support dog, and my goal was for our kids kids. I had dogs here and there, but and my parents would agree, we had dogs here and there that somehow either disappeared or went somewhere else and didn't have them very long. I wanted my boys to have an animal, a pet they could care for and love.
And they did.
And Baxter ended up being, they had him from 3 and 7. I think it was to like 16 and 20.
Yeah.
So he truly was a childhood dog that they grew up with.
In the area of money, sometimes no is necessary.
Yes,
but
not
also,
very often.
Well, it depends.
I'm just kidding.
But sometimes yes is just as easy. Now,
Sure.
Money is a dollars and cents conversation. It all looks, put it on paper, look at it. Can we do this? Can we do that?
Right.
But just don't have the sense in marriage of you control the other person.
Right.
Nothing will stifle an intimate, thriving relationship like control.
Yeah.
And that's concerning because I think all of us control out of fear. We control out of different angles of fear.
Well, it comes back to what you talked about in a different segment about people are broken in trauma. And we can't just, we only have about 15, 20 minutes in these sessions, this podcast to talk, so we can't really dig into things too deep. But, right off the bat, don't get angry with your spouse. If you sense a lot of no or a lot of control, help that person get to the point of why that is. There could be a reason why, out of fear or something that they feel like they have to say no or control.
Yeah.
And for them, the benefit of being able to release that and say yes will do wonders. So it's not always a negative. I mean, that negative really can have a positive outcome if you get to the root of why they're saying no so much.
So, previous podcast on the topic of sex.
Sure.
No is an often used term in sex, and no can be communicated either directly like no or indirectly by rejection or different things. And maybe we asked the wrong question. Maybe the question shouldn't be, do you want to have sex? Maybe the question should be, do you want a spouse who's connected to you?
Right.
Do you want a spouse who's attracted to you and somewhat connected emotionally, spiritually, and physically? Someone who's endeared to you? Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
Well, sure, any spouse will want that. Well,
Right.
this may be the pathway that takes place, not exclusively, but certainly a pathway by which that happens. And so if we think about the questions differently, maybe what would have been a no can now become a yes in the marital relationship. Like, for example, if someone had asked me, hey, do you want your wife to have peace? Well, yeah. You want your wife to have comfort when you're gone to work all day? Absolutely, I do. Do you want a dog? Well, no. Well, wait a minute. Those things, that's a pathway to what she's looking for that you do value. You take bedtimes for kids. We've had some rough days in parenting on bedtimes.
Oh, let's just say it. Chandler
Because-
was the worst, our oldest.
Well,
he just
and-
did not like to go to bed.
And I thought going to bed was a good plan. You were more for the kids staying up. I was more like, hey, it's 3:00. You've been to school, get in bed by 3:30.
Exactly. I think it was
We
the
got
time for
we
me,
got things
Marty.
to do. I'm going to hang out with your mom the rest of the night while you're in bed for
Dinner,
14
wash
hours.
the dishes, brush your teeth. Let's go, guys. You're 16, but I think 7 o'clock's a good bedtime.
Yeah,
And
but,
they're looking at us like, huh? What?
So bedtime may be a yes or no, but hey, do you want healthy kids?
Right.
Do you want to have space in your schedule? Do
Healthy
you want to have,
boundaries.
so if we think about the question differently, it might get us a different answer and maybe get to a yes quicker. My challenge for every couple is anywhere you'd normally said no to, start trying to say yes to.
Right.
And just see what comes of it and give it a trial
Shock
run.
your spouse.
Shock your spouse by going, sure. You want another dog? I don't want a third dog. We can't do 3.
No.
Because right now we don't have 2 dogs. We have 1 dog and 1 buffalo.
Maggie May.
We have a dog that can pull me down the sidewalk.
And it's fun to watch.
Yes, no, it's not fun to be pulled. But just think about the things. Do you want to go to dinner? No. Well, just go yes.
Well, what is it? What will it do for my spouse if I say yes? Think that real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to kill me to not like go out to dinner and spend a little bit of that money that I maybe had set aside for something else?
Yeah.
Saying yes sometimes may not be the easiest, but you have to think, what does this do for my spouse?
Yeah. And a lot of it's just an internal attitude adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that it was wrong or not that it was that difficult. You just had to go,
Well, habits, whether good or bad, you just get in the habit of saying no,
Yeah.
or the habit of some people saying yes too much to our children, or yes too much to this and that. It's just not always the no that can be wrong. Too many yeses can be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about today about yes is the best. And so when it's for the benefit of your spouse, making life easier on them, it's within your set of boundaries and obviously your consciousness, it's better just to say yes.
I could not agree more. We have learned in our marriage that yes has brought great blessing.
Yeah.
No has brought some tension points, some conflicts, some territorialism, some I'll get it my way anyway mindsets. We're both very self-willed or strong-willed individuals. I would say you outdo me on that.
You think I'm more strong-willed than you
yeah, I
are?
do.
Oh, Lord, I think you're stubborn.
No, that's just not true.
That's
especially not
another,
in the marriage.
that's another episode.
Oh, it's just not true.
It's so true.
I promise you. Between the two of us, I will cave to you a whole lot quicker than you will cave to me, 100% guaranteed.
Oh, well, we're talking about that specific area?
Just in general.
Oh, well, in general, you are very stubborn. You can be very stubborn.
Can
If you're
I?
talking about with just me and you, yes, you do cave more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a marriage podcast. It's about our marriage.
Well, I'm sorry. I thought we were being a little bit more broad in our
no.
thoughts.
So I would challenge any couple watching this and listening just to start saying yes.
Yeah.
And to your point, shock your spouse like, what? They just
Yeah.
said yes. The thing to be careful of in a marriage, you say no long enough, they'll quit asking.
Well, they will, and they'll just retreat to something else that they can find pleasure in, or they it feels like gives them attention, or something reciprocal. And before you know it, what was just stopping out one night after work with friends, or going to shoot hoops, or things like that will become like a nightly thing, or even a weekend thing, and then you'll be left going, well, why aren't they spending time with me? Well, because all you're doing is telling them no, what you can't do, or what you don't like to do, or this won't work. And if somebody hears that long enough, they're going to just go do something different.
And yes and no is also a body language, not just a voice.
Sure.
It's a body language. It's straight up your face, we're going to go do this, versus, okay, I'll do this, and you act poopy the whole time.
Right.
Learn to commit yourself to the idea of
Did you say poopy?
I
Act
did.
poopy? Okay.
I want my spouse to be valued and feel worth in this marriage. And if that means me saying yes more than me saying no, I'm going to say yes.
And I would say if it takes you having to take, what was it when we were little, they'd say turn that frown upside down or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hey, let's just give people credit where they're at. If it's a little bit of a frown the first few times, that's okay. You're working through stuff. We're not expecting you to be fake or shallow, but we are expected as marital couples to be sacrificial.
Yeah.
So if it takes a few times to get that to hey,
Right.
then that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Give your spouse time to lean into the yes.
Yes. Let them acclimate to the yes.
Let them acclimate to this. I can't believe I said yes to this. So when you think about marriage, there's lots of decisions you make every day, from getting out of bed to breakfast to work schedules to lunches to exchanges on texting, to different communication points. If you have families, you got schedules.
Right.
You
What's
got
for
lots
dinner
of
tonight?
places. Yeah, what's for dinner? You got, by the way, what's for dinner? You got lots of places in a married life situation where there's back and forth communication. Don't let no's become the dominant source of the relationship.
Right.
And I would even submit this, over time, learn your spouse. I kind of know what's a hard no with you. You kind of know what's a hard no with me, probably, although I submit there's fewer hard no's with me.
Oh, definitely fewer hard no's.
But, I know what not to ask. I just
Sure.
know,
That's good.
And that's where you position your spouse for success.
Sure.
I don't want to put you in a place where you're going to feel failure.
Right.
And the same back toward me.
Right.
Don't put your spouse in a place where they think, hey, I can't win.
Right.
Help your spouse win. Say lots of yeses. Say yes. Say yes because yes is
Yes.
best.
Yes is best.
So just say yes. This wraps up this episode, and I love doing life with you.
And I love saying yes to you and doing life with you.
She said yes.